The 7 eldest Andorians nearly choked on their drinks as human General Nolan Russell flung back his hood, pounding his fist on the chamber's central speaking platform. His scarred face glared, filling the circular council room as he stood before the assembled species who had long suppressed his people. They would finally learn humanity's horrifying secret or risk their empire's destruction, Russell vowed. High Councillor Vox was first to recover his wits, antennae ceasing their concerned twitching to regard Russell calmly. General, you claim to reveal great truths, granting us a boon of knowledge for judging your unruly kind. Yet humans only sow discord on fringe worlds like Zephyr Prime, assaulting those we charged with helping your refugee remnants. How you understand nothing of human nature, Russell growled, his gravelly bass reverberating against the chamber's vast holographic galaxy map. It displayed the Andorian expanse, 1,000 star systems that could soon burn if he failed here. Cast us out and witness the horrors we'll inflict on your unsuspecting empire. Taken aback, the council shared looks of alarm at such open threats from a subjugated race. Vox raised a dampening hand to quiet their startled chatter. His narrowed eyes studied the general, detecting no bluff in the war-hardened human's demeanor. You would gamble your entire species on this scary truth. 50,000 souls who cling to our charity. Gamble? Russell's scarred lips twisted in a dark smile as he reached inside his cloak. I'm here to save your damned lives, Counselor. Now let me explain humanity's burden before it's too late for us all. Nolan withdrew a small holodisc from his cloak, inserting it into the chamber's central projector. A 3-dimensional display flickered to life, casting scenes of carnage and devastation above the council's heads. You think you know war, but you haven't seen the depths of depravity that humans can sink to, Nolan said, his voice low and steady. Our history is soaked in blood, from the earliest conflicts between primitive tribes to the global wars that nearly destroyed our civilization. The hologram shifted, displaying scenes of trench warfare, atomic explosions, and cities reduced to rubble. The councillors watched, their expressions a mixture of revulsion and morbid fascination. But those wars were nothing compared to the conflict that brought us to Zephyrus Prime, Nolan continued. The United Earth Federation and the Martian Republic locked in a struggle for control of the solar system, both sides wielding weapons that would make your worst nightmares seem tame. The projection changed again, showing scenes of robotic armies clashing on the surface of Mars, swarms of nanobots devouring entire cities, and soldiers writhing in agony as their bodies were consumed by engineered plagues. I fought in that war, Nolan said, his voice barely above a whisper. I was there at the Battle of Olympus Mons, where I watched my entire squad die screaming as the Martians unleashed their latest horror. I should have died with them, but somehow I survived, left for dead on the red sands of Mars. The hologram zoomed in on Nolan's face, his features twisted in a rictus of pain and grief. The councillors leaned forward, their antennae twitching with a mixture of sympathy and unease. For months I survived alone, scavenging from the ruins of Martian bases, my body broken and my mind on the edge of madness. I was rescued by chance, by an Andorian trade ship that detected my distress beacon. They brought me here, to Zephyrus Prime, where I found others like myself, survivors of a war that had destroyed everything we knew. The display shifted again, showing the refugee camps on Zephyrus Prime, the haggard faces of the human survivors, the desperation and anger in their eyes. But we weren't just victims, Nolan said, his voice growing stronger. Among us were soldiers from both sides, trained killers conditioned to view violence as the only solution. Members of the UEF's Black Ops Division, the Martian Nanotech Corps, men and women who had seen and done things that would break most people. The councillors murmured among themselves, their expressions a mix of horror and understanding. Vox watched Nolan intently, his antennae still. Is it any wonder that some of us struggled to adapt to your peaceful ways? Nolan asked, his eyes sweeping the council chamber. That some of us lashed out, unable to let go of the trauma and the conditioning that had defined our lives for so long? The hologram faded, leaving only Nolan standing before the council, his scarred face illuminated by the dim light of the chamber. "The crimes committed by humans on Zephyrus Prime are not a reflection of our nature," he said, his voice firm and unwavering. "They are a result of the scars we bear, the wounds that have not yet healed. We need your help, your understanding, not your condemnation." The chamber was silent, the weight of Nolan's words hanging in the air. Vox leaned forward, his expression unreadable. "And what solution do you propose, General Russell?" he asked, his voice a low rumble. Nolan met Vox's gaze, his eyes glinting with determination. "We need a chance to heal, to learn," he said, his voice growing stronger with each word. "We need education, therapy, a way to integrate into your society without losing ourselves in the process. We need a future, Counselor, not just for ourselves, but for the sake of the Andorian Empire." Vox nodded slowly, his antennae twitching thoughtfully. "And how do you propose we provide this future?" he asked, his voice carefully neutral. Nolan straightened his shoulders, his scars seeming to fade as a new light entered his eyes. "I have a plan," he said, his voice ringing with conviction. "A way to turn our greatest weakness into our greatest strength. But I need your support, your trust, to make it happen." The councillors leaned forward as one, their attention fixed on the human general as he began to outline his vision for the future of his people and the Andorian Empire. Nolan's voice filled the chamber with conviction as he proposed his plan. The humans need a rehabilitation program, one tailored to help them overcome their traumas and adapt to life among the Andorians. We should have human and Andorian experts, psychologists, social workers, cultural guides, jointly running the program, and the refugees should be allowed to contribute through work and community service to build new lives and find purpose here on Zephyrus Prime. Vox and the councillors huddled, whispering in heated tones as they debated the merits of Nolan's proposal. "Can we really trust the humans to change their violent ways?" one skeptical voice hissed. Another argued back, "The Andorian way is to extend compassion and the chance for rehabilitation to all. That must include the human refugees." As the council deliberated, the chamber doors suddenly hissed open and a striking figure glided in, Ambassador Zara of the Galactic Federation. Her lithe form shimmered with golden skin as she spoke. "The Federation has been monitoring the tensions between humans and Andorians on Zephyrus with concern. We have much experience aiding war-ravaged civilizations and wish to offer our resources and expertise to support General Nolan's proposed rehabilitation program." Vox's antennae perked up, sensing the weight of the Federation's offer. He called for an immediate vote on Nolan's plan. Swayed by Zara's words and the chance for galactic collaboration, a slim majority of the council approved the humans' proposal. Nolan sagged with relief, trading a look of exhausted triumph with Zara as the council session ended. They both knew the real challenges of integrating the refugees was just beginning. Huddling together, the general and the ambassador started hashing out specifics: who to recruit for the rehab program, where to house it on Zephyrus. But their intense discussion was abruptly shattered by a sudden cacophony from beyond the council chamber, the unmistakable din of explosions mixed with panicked screams. Nolan and Zara burst from the council chamber into a scene of utter chaos. The once tranquil Andorian capital was now a war zone. Heavily armed human insurgents stormed through the streets, their weapons spitting deadly fire at the overwhelmed Andorian security forces. A grim-faced man with cold, merciless eyes led the assault, Alexei Volkov, Nolan's former comrade from the UEF Black Ops Division. Volkov's forces advanced relentlessly, cutting down Andorians with brutal efficiency. "Volkov!" Nolan roared over the din of battle. "Stop this madness!" But Volkov only sneered, his eyes alight with hatred. "The time for talk is over, Nolan. We're taking what's ours by force." Nolan and Zara split up, Zara rushing to help evacuate the civilians, as Nolan rallied a group of Andorian soldiers for a desperate counterattack. Bullets whizzed past Nolan's head as he charged forward, his old combat instincts kicking in. He led his team in a daring flanking maneuver, hitting Volkov's forces from the side and catching them off guard. The insurgents fell back under the ferocious Andorian assault, but Volkov stood his ground, firing his rifle with deadly accuracy. Nolan closed in on his former friend, dodging and weaving through the crossfire. He tackled Volkov to the ground, sending them both tumbling into a shattered storefront. "It doesn't have to be this way, Alexei," Nolan pleaded as they grappled. "We have a chance for peace, for a new life here." But Volkov only laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Peace? With these blue-skinned freaks? You're even more naive than I thought, Nolan." Volkov lashed out with a hidden blade, slicing Nolan across the ribs. Nolan stumbled back, gasping in pain. Volkov pressed his advantage, lunging forward for the kill. Nolan reacted on pure instinct, drawing his own knife and plunging it into Volkov's chest. Volkov's eyes widened in shock, then glazed over as he slumped to the ground, dead. Nolan staggered to his feet, clutching his wounded side. Outside, the sounds of battle were fading as the Andorian forces regained control. But the cost had been high. Nolan stumbled through the rubble-strewn streets, past the bodies of fallen humans and Andorians alike. He found Zara lying in a pool of her own shimmering blood, an insurgent's bullet having found its mark. "Nolan," she whispered, as he cradled her in his arms. Promise you'll bring our peoples together, unite them." Her voice trailed off, her luminous eyes going dim. Nolan held her close, tears streaming down his battle-scarred face. In the days that followed, Nolan threw himself into the rebuilding efforts, working tirelessly alongside the Andorian authorities and Galactic Federation to bring the rehabilitation program to life. Many of the human refugees, horrified by Volkov's actions, embraced the chance to start anew. Nolan became a bridge between the two communities, his unwavering dedication to peace and understanding, earning him the respect of humans and Andorians alike. But the ghosts of the past never left him, the weight of Volkov's death and Zara's sacrifice forever etched into his soul. As the years passed, Nolan found himself an elder statesman on Zephyrus Prime, his battle-scarred face now etched with lines of wisdom. He spent his days tirelessly working to maintain the fragile peace between humans and Andorians, mediating disputes, and championing the ongoing rehabilitation program. But trouble brewed beneath the surface. A faction of Andorian extremists, led by the charismatic Zor-El, began a campaign of terror against the human settlements. Bombs ripped through community centers, while saboteurs targeted the infrastructure supporting the rehab program. Despite his advancing years, Nolan refused to sit idle. He met with Andorian authorities, poring over intelligence reports and coordinating countermeasures. His mind remained sharp, even as his body grew frail. Desperate to prevent all-out war, Nolan agreed to a face-to-face meeting with Zor-El, hoping to convince the extremist to abandon his violent crusade. They met in a remote location, far from prying eyes. "You've caused enough pain, Zor-El," Nolan said, his voice steady as he faced the Andorian across a battered table. "This path will only lead to more suffering." Zor-El's antennae twitched with agitation, his eyes burning with hatred. "You humans have no right to be here," he snarled. "Your very presence defiles our world." As they talked, Nolan realized the roots of Zor-El's hatred ran deep, born from personal tragedy. The extremist's family had been killed during the chaotic early days of the human refugee crisis. Nolan leaned forward, his own painful memories stirring. "I understand your loss, Zor-El, truly I do. At the Battle of Olympus Mons, I watched my entire squad die. The pain never leaves you." For a moment, Zor-El's expression softened, a flicker of understanding passing between them. But then, with a snarl, the extremist leader drew a hidden blast pistol, leveling it at Nolan's chest. "This meeting was a trap, human," Zor-El spat. "Your naive trust will be your downfall." Nolan moved with a speed that belied his age, lunging across the table. He grappled with Zor-El, fighting for control of the weapon. The pistol discharged with a searing flash, the blast tearing through Nolan's abdomen. Agony lanced through him, but Nolan managed to slam Zor-El's hand against the table, forcing the pistol from his grasp. The weapon skittered across the floor as Andorian security forces burst into the room. Nolan slumped to the ground, his life ebbing away. Zor-El, stunned by the sudden turn of events, offered no resistance as the security officers restrained him. "Let go of your hatred, Zor-El," Nolan gasped, his voice weak but urgent. "Embrace peace as I once did. It's the only way forward." Zor-El stared down at the dying human, his expression a mix of shock and dawning realization. As Nolan's eyes drifted shut, the extremist leader bowed his head, a single tear tracing down his blue-skinned cheek. In the days that followed, all of Zephyrus Prime mourned the loss of Nolan, the human who had given everything for the cause of peace. Humans and Andorians alike gathered for his memorial service, united in their grief. As a young human girl and an Andorian boy laid a wreath of flowers at the base of Nolan's statue, a symbol of the unity he had fought for, the bustling streets of the capital stretched out before them. Here, humans and Andorians lived and worked side by side, a testament to Nolan's legacy and the enduring power of hope. If you finished this story, please subscribe and like the video. Then leave a comment that says, "I liked the story," and I will heart every single one of them. It really helps me. Thank you for your time.